It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Friday, August 5th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful, wonderful Friday? We've got current news from around the world, the word study about the Wednesday message, and Let's Testify with Thule from Australia. All right, everyone, how are you doing today? It is Friday. Friday has come, and I'm sure all of you are getting ready to enjoy another amazing and awesome weekend. So I hope you guys are looking forward to some relaxation, fun, recharging, realizations, new direction through the Sunday message. So let's get things kicked off here on the last day of the work week together here on the Morning Star Drive. So everyone, keep liking, keep commenting, build this community. I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. And we are getting a lot more comments, and I'm really thankful for all of you that are writing your comments, kind of opening up and talking about the things we can't normally talk about, in our current settings. And this is something I'm really thankful for as we're getting more and more comments. And very, very thankful, especially a lot of people are calling me about how this podcast is very transparent. Right. And I think this is a really, really good thing that we can do for this podcast, even though it's a public, it's a public channel. Obviously, we only have members on here, but it's a public channel. It allows us to be transparent. We can connect with different people from all parts of the world. But I do like the part where we are transparent, as in we're talking about the things that people maybe in your setting, environment, your church may not want to talk about. Right? It could be a little bit uncomfortable at times too, but I am super grateful that we have this platform here so that we can talk about these things also. Today, I'm very excited because, we have another segment of Let's Testify with Thule over there in Australia. And with this segment, she'll be doing chapter 3 of the Vietnam book. So that third segment there. So I'm super happy that she's doing this. And a lot of people, it's great to refresh, or some people may have not even read it yet, right? This is the Vietnam book. So a big shout out to Thule for doing an awesome job over there in Australia. There's one thing I noticed. One thing I noticed is everyone's getting COVID. I talked to a bunch of leaders. They're all getting COVID, right? So a lot of people are getting COVID. Even for me doing my word study, I think almost every single person's got COVID already. And 3 of us got it recently. And I know that other leaders are getting COVID. And this is where it's kind of interesting for me. So I want you guys to think about what it was like 2 years ago when COVID first came out, okay? And what Sunseem said was really interesting because he knows the truth about COVID, and he said it's not as bad as you think, right? But it was kind of taboo to get COVID, wasn't it? Remember 2 years when it just started? It was like something so terrible, and you were, and those who are in Providence, be careful on your own. And then we're sealed, so we're not going to get this COVID thing. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, it almost felt like if you got COVID, you there's something wrong with you. Like you sinned or something. It's like, oh, you weren't careful on your own. But it's quite interesting because you could see it was a very situational thing only for that time. Because right now, if you get COVID, it's not a big deal in Providence. It really isn't, right? So if COVID itself was that bad, right? If it was really, really that bad, then even now as leaders are getting COVID, they should be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Why weren't you careful? Or, what's going on, right? But now it's quite normal. So you could tell that in the very beginning, when we were freaking out about it, it was very situational, and it wasn't something objective like COVID is bad. It was more situational for that time in the beginning, right? Because right now, there's no words about be careful on your own, or Sunseem doesn't even talk about COVID at all. And one thing we do know is, if I were to give you insight onto things going in Korea, public image is everything. So, there was, if you were an organization that was doing was the super spreader, then your image of your church would just get blasted. And that's what happened to Shincheonji. And if you really, really think about it, it wasn't a big deal. Honestly, guys, if you think about it, they had a super spreader event, right? They had a super spreader event. And honestly, right now, if they're super spreading whatever it is, and it's happening like crazy right now in a lot of different countries, but it's not like people are freaking out. So if you look, it's really interesting just to see culturally the difference between, like, say, Korea and other countries. That if you were a super spreader, your organization would be lambasted and the image would just die. But in America or in Canada, if there was a super spreader event, they would just say super spreader event, right? And it was kind of, and we're like, oh, okay, so make sure that, do this or this. And it doesn't freak out as much as like Korea did. And this is why over the messages in Korea, when COVID first started, there were huge things out there like, oh my gosh, watch out for this. Don't be careful on your own. And part of it is because this could have been a way that Satan could have put another bad image onto Providence, especially in Korea where it's the biggest, right? Where Sunseam is right now. So it's really interesting because now COVID's not a big deal. Like almost anywhere, right? I think even Korea right now, if you're a super spreader, it's not going to be as big of a deal as it was like 2.5 years ago. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm just saying it's interesting because everyone's got COVID and it's not as big of a deal anymore. And it just proves to show that a lot of things that are talked about, sometimes they're more situational rather than it's an objective truth. Like COVID is the most terrible thing ever. And the answer is it's not. It totally isn't. And we have all the evidence now that shows that COVID wasn't as big as we thought it was, but there were these very, very, like these age groups that are very susceptible to it. And that's why they need to be protected more than anything else, which is like, I think it was like over 65 and people with certain types of illnesses, right? Or like diabetes and any respiratory illnesses would be considered like very high risk. But everyone else was fine. It really was. And, I really didn't like it when people were like fear mongering, especially when it came to children, because it wasn't that bad for children. It really wasn't. Either way. So that's kind of very interesting. And I was like, yeah, leaders getting it. Not a big deal. I do have some good news though. Great news for myself, I guess, because I got I got an early birthday gift. And my early birthday gift is a brand new laptop. And some of you might think, well, didn't you just get a laptop like 2 years ago, like this MacBook Pro, whatever it is? And the answer is yes, but I'm replacing it because I'll be giving my MacBook Pro to my main editor for the YouTube channel. So they'll have 2 computers and they can work on both of them. And it'll be much, much easier for them also. So I'm excited about getting this new laptop for myself. It's a MacBook Air because I don't really do heavy stuff on it. Right. And I realized even more, like just yesterday, I sold my iPad Pro and I sold it because I knew that it was kind of more of a luxury. And honestly, here's the interesting thing. Because of that iPad I had, I was watching more media. But now that I don't have it, even last night, didn't really care for it. Like I wasn't like trying to look for media or anything else like that. But I realized, it was such a luxury that I was using it for the wrong thing because I was like, I didn't really, really need it. Like the thing I really liked about it, number one was, the interface is really easy with the Apple Pencil. But number 2 was I liked it because it had 120 gigahertz, 120 hertz refresh rate, which is really good for your eyes. But I don't really need it. So cool thing was I've used it for over 2.5 years and I sold it for half the price. So basically, I paid half price, or I rented the iPad for 2.5 years for only half the price. So I thought that was quite cool. That and I thought to myself, people should be getting rid of their products, not using it till the end, but selling it and upgrading it for a little bit, and just continuously upgrading. I think that would be actually a better strategy. Yeah. Oh, and some other stuff going on is, I am getting it's kind of cool because I have, this is gonna be my 1 year of sabbatical, or 1 year I basically took off. And interestingly, in this month, this 12th month, I'm starting to get more calls from other countries to help them out, speak for their campus or for their newcomers or something like that. So I feel it's almost like God is setting me up to get back into running for this history, like in the way that I used to. So I'm super happy about this. Of course, I'm going to be taking off to Malaysia, and I'm probably only going to do YouTube stuff over there because I don't know. There wasn't any requests over there in Malaysia for me to do any other stuff. So I'm most likely just going to be doing YouTube stuff over there. But I'm really happy because there are other countries asking me if I can do some things, and I'm super happy to be doing that also. So yeah. So guys, super grateful and thankful for all of you guys out there. Really, really happy how things are kind of moving forward with this 1 year I had off. And I think it was a good break for me. So And yesterday night, I hope you guys were able to catch the new Espresso with Sky video, and it's something I hope that everyone can benefit from, and their newcomers can benefit from too. All right? Okay, so let's get into some featured artists from around the world on this amazing and relaxing Friday. We're going to start off with a brand new song. Now, this song is not as, what's the word? Is not really an old song. It's Julius was, he sent me this song and I'm like, this song is awesome because I like rock, right? And this song was written like 4 years ago, and it's from a conversation that Julius had with a newcomer, right? And his name is, his stage name is Kuro Black, okay? And he's Asian. He's not black. He's Asian, right? And the discussion was about having a ton of thoughts that run in your mind, but it's about doubting yourself and telling yourself that you're not good enough. And you hear these thoughts of your own so much to the point they start to become real. And then you have this internal struggle against yourself. And it's really, really hard to find your place in this like crazy society, and you feel like you're going crazy. So Julius was telling me for him personally, he was still fitting into Providence, and he was no longer part of the former faith and not part of the world. So he's kind of like transitioning in between. So this song they made together. This is Kuro Black and Julius from Rapture Collective. And actually, Kuro Black was also the person producing, and he was singing in that song from that first song from Rapture Collective too. But great song, and it's rock. It's really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and I heard it, I was like right away, like I want this song right away. And this song is called Inside My Head. So I hope you guys are gonna really, really enjoy this one. And then we have Zeniac from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with which one was this one? I think it's called Star Launcher. Yeah, I think it's Star Launcher for that. And then last but not least, we have Renee Lai from Taiwan with a cover of Avril Lavigne, Head Above Water.
Of the dead. Society's full of zombies and I'm fighting for survival. It's just me and the voice inside my head, that's my rival. It's peaceful in my city, but I think I'm going psycho. An upside down world where people look down to their idols. Yeah, my mind space is like a hellscape, but planet Earth's a crazy place. So stay in my own world between reality or insanity. The lines are blurred, and I don't know what's really more, or what's inside my head. All these thoughts that bring me down into the wall inside my head. I'm living in the twilight zone. I'm hyper-connected, but at the same time disconnected. Conflicted in large crowds is when I'm most on my own. Take a peek through the window of my soul. I've kept the fire burning ever since I heard that winter was coming. The coldness of their heart, there's no use running, no escaping. Deep to the bone, it leaves a king shaking in his throne. Yeah, I don't know what's really more, or what's inside my head. All these thoughts that bring me down into the wall inside my head. that's my rival. It's peaceful in my city, but I think I'm going psycho. An upside down world where people look down to the idols. Yeah, my mind space is like a hell's kick, but planet Earth's a crazy place. So stay in my own world between reality or insanity. The lines are blurred.
A decade has passed by the day you declared a farewell. At that time you told us what true happiness should be. Unknown omega star appeared along the axis of space and time. Welcome back and stay for a new language of eternity. On a golden mega structure built, you put all the words, let there be light. In a moment of a celestial miracle. Do you recognize me? You've waited for me. I'm right here. I remember you calling my name. Time for me to say nice to see A billion stars were fired from the temple you missed for so long. Collisions occur greatly from now on. Get ready for a rendezvous. I see the blue shifted light from you. In a moment of a celestial miracle. Do you recognize me? You've waited for me. I'm right here. I remember you calling my name. Time for me to say nice to see again. The day has come at last. It is not a dream. A decade could never altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. So pull me up from down below, 'cause I'm underneath the undertow. Come dry me up and hold me close. I need you now, I need you most. God, keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets hotter, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Keep my head above water, above water. And I can sing in the stormy weather, and I can sing to keep it all together, and I can swim in the ocean like this forever, and I can breathe. God, keep my head above water, I lose my breath at the bottom. Come rescue me, I'll be waiting. I'm too young to fall asleep. God, keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets hotter, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Keep my head above water, above water.
And there you have it. That is Renee Lai from Taiwan with Head Above Water. That is a cover from a Canadian singer, Avril Lavigne. Before that, Star Launcher from Zeniac from PMA in Korea. And of course, brand new song just dropped. It's like an awesome rock song. That's Kiro Black and Julius Miumo from Australia. That they are both from the Rapture Collective, and that song is Inside My Head. Great song. I'm hoping they post it up somewhere because I haven't seen it. Maybe they'll put it up on SoundCloud or some other place, but great song. All right. So let's get into some news going on around the world. And of course, I always talk about this is, as Sunseem says, our duty and our responsibility is not just to ourselves and to our history, but it's for the entire world. And it's because God listens to our prayers. God listens to the righteous. And this is why we need to see what is going on for three reasons. Number one, see what God is doing in the world. Number two, see what we need to report and pray for. And last but not least, what are the things we can comfort God's heart in? So let's first start off with the Russia-Ukraine crisis. So the IAEA says Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is out of control. A huge nuclear power plant occupied by Russia during its invasion of Ukraine is completely out of control, the head of the UN's nuclear agency says. And they're quoted as saying that the nuclear plant needs inspection and repairs. And they also said there's a catalog of things that should never be happening in any nuclear facility. So this is Europe's biggest nuclear plant, and it's dangerously close to the fighting. So the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused Russia earlier this week of using the plant, which it overran in March, as a military base to launch attacks on Ukrainian forces. Ukrainian officials have said Russians station troops and store military hardware on the grounds of the power station on the Dnipro River in the south of Ukraine. But a Russian-installed official in the region told Reuters news agency that Ukrainian forces were using Western-supplied weapons to attack the plant. So officials were saying that they're ready to show the agency, which is IAEA, which stands for the International Atomic Energy Agency, how Russians were guarding the nuclear facility while Ukrainians were allegedly attacking it. When Russia seized the plant, its shelling of buildings there caused an international outcry. The plant is still operating with Ukrainian staff under Russian control. So at a news conference at the UN headquarters in New York, basically, they were quoted as saying, "The situation is very fragile and every principle of nuclear safety has been violated one way or the other, and they cannot allow that to continue." So the IAEA's Director General said that he was trying to put together a mission as soon as possible to visit the plant, but this required the approval of both the Ukrainian and Russian sides, as well as UN authorization given the risks involved in visiting the war zone. Also, the Nord Stream 1, which is a gas pipeline that connects Russia to Germany, the Nord Stream 1, there is a 12-meter turbine engine threatening Europe's gas supply. So Russian energy giant Gazprom says it is impossible to take back a turbine that is vital for gas supplies to Europe due to Western sanctions. The 12-meter turbine is stranded in Germany after returning from Canada, where it was repaired. Berlin insists the equipment is not affected by sanctions and accuses Russia of not honoring its contracts for political reasons. Recently, Gazprom has drastically reduced gas deliveries to Europe. The key Nord Stream 1 pipeline from Russia to Germany is running at 20% capacity. Moscow supplied the EU with 40% of its natural gas last year, and the cuts have caused wholesale prices to increase dramatically. Some countries are struggling to buy enough gas to put into storage for the winter months when gas usage is much higher. On Wednesday, German Chancellor Scholz paid a visit to the Siemens energy factory where the turbine is stranded and said the turbine was ready to be shipped back to Russia at any time. But someone needs to say, "I want to have it," he added. So Moscow says it can only reinstall the turbine and increase gas supply after it receives documents showing that the turbine does not fall under Western sanctions. Gazprom has repeatedly limited gas flows through Nord Stream 1, a major Russia-Germany pipeline, and within a day of last week's Russian announcement, the wholesale price of gas in Europe had been pushed up by 10%. Berlin says there are no technical reasons for Gazprom limiting supplies, and the EU described the latest reduction as politically motivated. In late June, Germany was importing 26% of its gas from Russia, and it has sought supplies from elsewhere, planned measures to reduce consumption, and warned citizens that energy bills will rise. And the opening of another parallel pipeline, Nord Stream 2, was suspended by Germany in response to Russian aggression in Ukraine. So that's kind of what's happening over there in Russia and the Ukraine. We're going to move over to China. Yes, we just had that visit from U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, and it seems that China is gearing up for military drills after the Pelosi visit to Taiwan. And China fires missiles near Taiwan after the Pelosi visit. So China has fired missiles near Taiwan as part of huge military drills following a visit by senior U.S. politician Nancy Pelosi to the island. Taiwan said China launched 11 ballistic missiles into waters around Taiwan's northeast and southwest coasts. Japan said 5 Chinese missiles landed in its waters as well, calling for an immediate stop to the exercises. China saw the visit by the U.S. House Speaker, Ms. Pelosi, as a challenge to its claims of sovereignty over Taiwan, and it sees Taiwan as a breakaway province that will eventually be brought under its control by force if necessary. The U.S., for its part, does not officially recognize Taiwan, which has, for all practical purposes, been independent since 1950. However, Washington maintains a strong relationship with the island, which includes selling weapons for Taiwan to defend itself. The exercises focus on key training sessions, including joint blockade, sea target assault, strike on ground targets, airspace control operation, and this is from the Chinese military's Eastern Theater Command, they said in a statement. And Ms. Pelosi's brief visit Taiwan on Wednesday fueled tensions, with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi describing it as manic, irresponsible, and irrational. And she is the most senior U.S. politician to visit the island in 25 years. China responded by conducting an unprecedented launch of ballistic missiles and the military drills just off the Taiwanese coast. Taiwan's defense ministry said it had activated its defense systems and was monitoring the situation. Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs accused China of following the example of North Korea in willfully test-firing missiles into waters near other countries. North Korea, a strong ally of China's, has been accused of igniting tensions in the region by repeatedly launching missile tests in recent months. And on Thursday, Japan voiced its strong protest over the Chinese missile launches. And they also said, "We strongly condemn the act as it is a serious issue of concern. Issue concerning Japan's security and the safety of Japanese people." And that's from the Japanese Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi. China's missile launches are causing disruption to shipping lanes and flights to and from Taiwan. Ships have been forced to reroute, with days-long disruptions expected to have an impact on supply chains, with delays to global shipping, and more than 50 international flights from Taiwan's Taoyuan International Airport have been canceled. So this is kind of huge. They said it's going to be happening for 5 days. So let's see what the reaction will be from Taiwan and the U.S. and even Japan. All right. And last but not least, we have Iran nuclear talks to restart in Vienna with EU mediation. So this is great news. Iran and the U.S. are set to hold indirect talks centered on a text recently proposed by the EU in the latest attempt to revive the nuclear deal. Talks to revive the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and world powers are set to resume as representatives from Iran and the U.S. return to Vienna for a new round of discussions mediated by the European Union. The bloc's coordinator for the talks, in addition to top negotiators from Tehran and Washington, were reportedly heading back to the Austrian capital on Wednesday for indirect talks that are expected to begin on Thursday. The original format also including China, Russia, France, Germany, and the UK, shaping a joint commission that began talks to restore the nuclear accord in April 2021. It will be reconvened. Russia's chief negotiator, Mikhail Ulyanov, wrote on Twitter that talks would resume shortly and that Russian negotiators stand ready for constructive talks in order to finalize the agreement. And also in another tweet, there was a text proposed by the EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, 2 weeks ago, and that will be the basis of discussions with the bloc's representative once more performing shuttle diplomacy between Iran and the U.S. Iran's delegation will be led by Ali Bagheri Khani, who is expected to put forward Tehran's ideas on the lifting of U.S. sanctions and safeguard probes on Iran's nuclear program, which will be relayed to the U.S. chief negotiator Robert Malley. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani said in a statement on Wednesday that Tehran is serious about achieving a sustainable agreement. He also expressed hope that the other parties will also create the conditions for effectively progressing the talks through adopting necessary decisions and seriously focus on resolving remaining issues. Iran and the U.S. had held 2 days of talks mediated by Mora in Qatar in June, but which concluded without progress. Negotiations have stalled since March, with each side accusing the other of not being serious enough. But Wednesday's developments come after another week of tensions and uncertainty concerning the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, as the nuclear deal is formally known. Hours after the U.S. imposed a new batch of sanctions targeting Iran's petrochemical exports on Monday, Tehran responded by issuing an order to feed gas into hundreds of advanced centrifuges, further accelerating its nuclear program. Iran in June took down monitoring cameras installed by the IAEA after the U.S. and its European allies tabled a resolution censoring its insufficient cooperation with the watchdog that was approved by the agency board of governors. So this is going to be quite interesting. I'm glad that they're getting back to this because we need less nuclear weapons. We've already got, like we talked about this the other day, 13,000 already. To add one more is just ridiculous, right? So I hope that's something that we'll really be able to, all the countries participating, let's just hope that they all reach a certain agreement. Okay, so let's move into some sporting news then. We're going to start off with golf, as the LIV golfers, they have opened a lawsuit against the PGA Tour. So as soon as the PGA Tour suspended players who competed in the rival LIV Golf Invitational Series, it seemed inevitable that the circuit's battle for the best players in the world would end up in a courtroom. On Wednesday, you had Mickelson, Bryce DeChambeau, and 9 other LIV Golf players. They filed an antitrust lawsuit in federal court, and 3 of the players are also seeking a temporary restraining order that would allow them to compete in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Lawyers representing the suspended players believe that the PGA Tour's bans on players who join LIV Golf are vastly strengthened if the ban encompasses not only PGA Tour events, but also the 4 majors, which are organized by separate governing bodies. In NFL news, The NFL is appealing their ruling that Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns should be suspended 6 games. So on Wednesday, the NFL appealed the 6-game suspension, and they're seeking a tougher penalty under the league's personal conduct policy in the wake of disciplinary officer Sue L. Robinson's ruling Monday. And in a statement, the league said it notified the NFL Players Association that it would appeal and then filed its brief Wednesday afternoon. And the league said NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell will determine who will hear the appeal under the collective bargaining agreement. Goodell has the option to consider the appeal himself, or he can appoint a designee to do so. A source told ESPN that the NFL is appealing for an indefinite suspension that would be a minimum of 1 year, as it previously sought a monetary fine, which Watson was not levied by Robinson, and treatment that the star quarterback must undergo. So that should be quite interesting, and it's going to be a court battle, I think, that's going to last for the entire year. Last but not least, we're going to the WNBA. I do not report much about it, but this kind of has to do with Russia and Ukraine too. One of the WNBA stars, Brittany Griner, is sentenced to 9 years in Russian prison. A Russian court sentenced WNBA star Brittany Griner to 9 years in prison Thursday, an expected conclusion to her trial that should allow negotiations for a prisoner swap to accelerate. Griner, who was arrested February 17th for bringing cannabis into the country, has been prepared for a harsh sentence, sources close to the players said, but she and her supporters have also been aware that Russia was not going to move forward with a trade that could bring her home until her trial was completed. A guilty verdict was considered a foregone conclusion, and Griner pleaded guilty July 7th, though the case continued under Russian law. And during sentencing, Judge Anna Sotnikova said she had found that Griner intentionally broke the law and also fined her 1 million rubles, which is about $16,700. And Sotnikova said the time Griner has served in custody since her arrest in February would count towards the sentence. So let's see what actually happens here if the U.S. will do a prisoner swap with her and also another Marine who's in prison in the country also. All right, so there it is, guys. That is the top 3 news in sports and world news. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. But you know what time it is, everyone. It is the golden time. And yes, this is the golden time, a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. Hope you guys are really, really enjoying this podcast so far. This is Friday, and I hope that we can have a great time of praise and worship. I know the Holy Trinity is looking forward to this just as we are. So what are we going to sing today? Brand new song that just came out on Provi Source. It is We Are Confident. Then we'll go to Paradise, and we'll end things off with Tremendous Grace. All right, so as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Confident, unshaken. We are proud, unwavering. Confident now. We are so proud. Hey, have you caught a vibe by now?
I caught the tick in the hands of our clock, keep on moving, they never stop. 'Cause we are following the timing of God who is mighty, we don't stop.
I will do the work I must do. I'm the key to the outcome that I want.
With the truth of the times we run diligently, we're making history. I trust in the power that God's given me. I make myself better every day. Since God is with us, supporting us always, we can never lose while we are on this path. No matter what comes our way, whatever may happen now.
Hey, have you caught a vibe by now? So what?
Confident, we're confident, yeah, doesn't matter what may come.
Confident, unshaken.
Confident, we're confident, yeah, come on, babe, we'll stand as
We
one.
are proud, unwavering.
Confident, unshaken.
Confident now.
We are proud, unwavering.
We are so proud.
Confident, we're confident, yeah.
Hey, have you caught a vibe by now? So what?
No matter what happens, we'll turn tables and we'll climb. Grab the time, fix our minds, fix our contradictions, we will shine. We'll shake it up like sneeze, say God bless you. If there's obstacles to block our way, we'll step right over. Ha ha, gain momentum, don't tremble, moving forward, just one more step, and now we're going forward. We're following the time, we follow the high, we come together, we're stronger. And like heaven, I am established, firm and shaken. And just like the sun, the will of God is never stopping. Like a backpack, God has my back, He's with me, so I'm safe, I'm so confident. I have dignity, whatever may be. I'm ready to face with energy, battery charged up. I'm set up with the Lord, I'm confident, we're winning. Game, set.
Since God is with us, supporting us always, we can never lose while we are on this path. No matter what comes our way, whatever may happen now.
Hey, have you caught a vibe by now?
So what?
Confident, we're confident, yeah, doesn't matter what may come.
Confident, unshaken.
Confident, we're confident, yeah, come with me, we'll stand as one.
We are proud, unwavering.
Confident, unshaken.
Confident, now.
We are proud, unwavering.
We are so proud.
Confident, we're confident, yeah. Hey, have you caught a vibe by now?
So what?
Confident, we're confident, yeah, doesn't matter what may come.
Confident, unshaken.
Confident, we're confident, yeah, come with me, we'll stand as
We
one.
are proud, unwavering.
Confident, unshaken.
Confident, now.
We are proud, unwavering.
We are so proud.
Confident, we're confident, yeah.
Hey, have you caught a vibe by now?
So what? Yeah, yeah, huh. Since God is with us, we are confident, unshaken. Yeah, yeah, huh. The Holy Spirit is with us, we are proud, unwavering. Since God is with us, we are confident, unshaken. The Holy Spirit is with us, we are proud, unwavering. Since we live by God, we'll do it confidently, confidently, do it confidently.
Hey, have you caught a vibe by now?
So what?
Is this a dream? Can't believe it. All that I want, it's much. I keep on smiling about it. I'm feeling so excited. Uh-oh.
This is the awesome fruit of the Lord's deep love, this joyful celebration of our rapture.
I'm on this bright golden stage. My spirit is shining all day. I am hit with this heavenly groove. Dance, dance, dance. My eyes are on the Trinity. They look at me with such love. Sing, sing, sing. My eyes are only on the Lord. He looks at me with such love. Thankful I move, joyful I groove. Love is my vibe, eternal paradise. Thankful I move, joyful I groove. Love is my vibe, eternal paradise.
I am happy, so I sing and praise all my days. To my God, my groom, eternally praise His ways. I respond with thanks, assignment, and the love of a bride. To the heavens offer glory, glory on high. We have been longing for the rapture, it is God's dream and ours. With the Lord's great condition, and love rapture is finally fulfilled. This time of love with the Lord is not my true blessing. I love for how long? Eternity.
This is the awesome fruit of the Lord's deep love, this joyful celebration of our rapture.
I'm on this bright golden stage. My spirit is shining all day. I am hit with this heavenly groove. Dance, dance, dance. My eyes are on the Trinity. They look at me with such love. Sing, sing, sing. My eyes are only on the Lord. He looks at me with such love. Dance, dance, dance. My eyes are on the Trinity. They look at me with such love. Sing, sing, sing. My eyes are only on the Lord. He looks at me with such love.
singing praise all my days. To my God, my groom eternally praise his ways. I respond with thanks, excitement, and the love of a bride. To the heavens offer glory, glory on high. We have been longing for the rapture, it is God's dream and ours. With the Lord's great condition and love rapture is finally fulfilled. This time of love with the Lord is now my true blessing. I love for how long? Eternity.
We're on the path of God's immense grace. We're on the path of God's great blessing. The Lord's word paved the way that led us here. Truly, we give thanks. And as we walk the path of God's will, He let us live no greater grace in this whole world. We sincerely offer thanks and we pour out this art of love to the Lord who gives tremendous grace. To the Lord who gives tremendous grace.
And that was a great song. That is Tremendous Grace. Hope you guys enjoyed that time of praise and worship. Before that was Paradise, really fun. And of course, that brand new song, We Are Confident. I really, really like that version we did in English too. So hope you guys are really enjoying today's podcast. And just kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up. I should have said this at the very beginning, but since I sold my my iPad, that's where I do all my recording. So I am learning how to do this on my laptop right now. Like I'm using the same program, GarageBand, but I'm learning it for the first time. There's like just these subtle differences of how to make it happen. It's still like most of it I know what to do, but I'm trying to regain that sound back in my voice, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get that done. I'm going to just see, and it's going to be trial and error until we get to that point, right? So please be forgiving because, I'm learning this on a laptop in a new way. So it'll get better and better as the time goes on, okay? So let's get into today's word study now that our hearts are prepared through the time of praise. And yes, it was a wonderful Wednesday message. And I'm always doing this on Fridays, reviewing the Wednesday message. And it's interesting because this is going to be much different than everyone else because all the head leaders were making different scripts. And I think it's really, really important too, especially when it comes to transparency of what is Sunsteam's word or what is Sunsteam's script and what is our script. And I think that's a big thing people should know. They should know what the difference is because I know that there's a lot of people out there who would even want to know during Sunsteam's script, when am I speaking my own opinion? Right? Because they want to know what is actually coming from Sunsteam and what is not coming from him, right? So I do think it's a good idea that people are very, very transparent about this too. This week's word, it's time to know, pray, and act. Now, it's going to be different for everyone because everyone's head leader did something in a different way. So, I'm going to go over the one that I heard. Okay, and I hope that you guys will enjoy this kind of a different take from what you guys have heard. All right. So, one of the first questions I was asked is, are you certain or are you solid about the time it is right now? Because that's part of this week's message. This week's message is split into 3 parts: is know, pray, and act. So the first question asked was, can you really say that you know? Right? This is the first part of the message, to know, to learn correctly first. And I really liked it because the preacher went into how we came into this history. And how did we come to this history? It starts off with Bible study, with the 30 lessons. So we start off with the 30 lessons, which is knowledge, okay? Then after this knowledge, we're gaining understanding. And then after we finally understand what the word is saying, then we're like, oh, this is where we are. So he says the very first part when it comes to us knowing has to do with knowledge and truth. And they become the first key foundation to build our spiritual life. Without knowledge and truth, how could any one of us be here right now? And I think it's a very, very important topic for all of us to understand is we will never be able to realize until we get the knowledge and the truth first. And then the connection was after you know and understand, and then this will elevate your prayer life. And I was like, wow, that's a really, that really makes a lot of sense. Because in the past, when we didn't know properly, we would pray our kind of like, I wouldn't say a foolish prayer, but prayers that could be so much more deeper and better with the knowledge of who, of this history and who is the man of mission of this time. And it would really build your spiritual life. But the moment that you actually know is the moment you no longer pray those foolish types of prayers or the lower level prayers. And, the great example was given is, what about the people out there who are thinking we're going to physically resurrect? What about the people who think that they need to sell all their possessions because the entire world is going to be destroyed? And what we learn in this history, which is so much better, and you can see how different our prayers can become, is when we're praying to resurrect our mentality. We're praying to resurrect our actions. We're praying to resurrect because we understand this concept that God is saying to us much more deeply. And this is why we really need to listen to the words well. We have to raise a level of understanding more and more. And one of the big things that this preacher was talking about is we need to spend more time with God. Because the more you read the message, the more you're going to catch parts of the message that you may have missed. Right? And he was talking about, well, he's the head leader, obviously, but he was talking about, when I read the message, I'm reading it multiple times. And even though, he's the one preparing the message, every time he reads it, even after he's preached, he's catching better and better things. He's catching new things. So the question that comes to us is, how much do we need to know? Or how much can we say we actually know? Because there is so much out there in the message that we don't catch. And this is why we need to spend more time with the Word. And spending more time with the Word is spending more time with God, because God is the Word. And that makes sense, right? So this goes into, once we get to know, we catch the subtleties, the nuances. It's about knowing deeply and correctly the flow of direction we're going in. And this is the first step, because direction is a general thing, right? So if the direction is west, which means west is a very wide place to walk westwards, right? And we need to be those that understand that, yes, now that we know the direction, as you walk that direction, you're going to see signs and milestones and these things that you look at like, oh, this is here, and you're going to catch a lot of the details as you go along the way. But the first and most important part is, it is knowing deeply and correctly the flow of direction that we're moving in, or this history is moving in. And to get the direction, once again, it's all in the Word, right? And once we get to know the Word, we're able to find the direction we're going in. And I thought that was very important for all of us to understand as we are listening to the message. Of course, Sunstein does talk about sometimes saying that if you listen to the words well, just once, you'll be able to catch the general direction. And that's truth. And then after, if you read it more, you'll get more of the subtleties. You'll get more of the details of which direction we're going in. And I think one of the parts that the preacher did bring up that we need to think about a lot is we have to check and reflect on ourselves, right? That's one of the parts of this week's message, right? Don't forget to reflect on yourself, to check, make yourself clean. And this will, all these things will change dependent upon how much we seek God. Because seeking God, this absolute clean, almighty, all-powerful being, like how many people want to go in front of God dirty? And dirty meaning with all these sins. Like honestly, like even for me, during this pandemic, there are times I'm like, oh my gosh, I made another mistake. And you just sometimes just feel so humiliated or embarrassed in front of God. Like, God, I made that same mistake again. Oh, how could I do this? And what we need to realize is when we're seeking God, we do want to be clean. That's why a lot of people hide when they're dirty. People don't want to meet others when they're dirty. People don't want to have like sins against each other and then meet each other. It's really, really awkward to be in that situation. This is why we really need to check ourselves. How much we seek God will actually innately, like, we'll be like, oh gosh, should I meet this person? You know what I mean? It's like if you have a sin against someone, sometimes you're like, I don't even know if I want to meet this person. So we need to be those that seek after God. And when we really, really want to seek, this is when we're going to reflect on ourselves more. This is when we're going to check ourselves even more than before, right? And of course, one other point that was a great point that was made is, we have to remember that this is the year of prayer and the Word. And there's a huge emphasis on prayer this year, right? Huge. And especially this week, this the title is Know, Pray, Act. Which means, this week's title is It Is the Time. That's what it's saying. Right? It is the time. So what does that mean? Well, when someone says it's time, it's usually one of two things. It means something really urgent or something really important. right? That's usually when it says, it's time for this, right? It's important or urgent. And I really liked how this preacher went back into a message in May. And in May, the message was about the perfect prayer to God, which is the beginning of the gospel, which is very, I remember the title, but I don't remember as many details, but I really liked how the preacher went back into what is a perfect prayer. And it's like, we need to pray perfectly. And God himself is listening directly to perfect prayers right now, and he's responding directly, right? So we know that there's times when angels are taking our prayers. We know that there's times there's a middle person in between our prayers and God. But at that time, when the message was about perfect prayer, the message was God is listening directly, and he's going to act directly. And this is kind of really shocking when you think about that. And we need to understand how important this time of prayer is when God himself is listening directly. Right? We need to understand how important that really is. So question is, why is prayer more urgent or more important right now? And interestingly, this preacher brought up a message that Sunseam talked about in 2012. And in 2012, Sunseam was saying, it is important to pray right now because the future will be like being in a bus rolling down a hill, and it'll be so much more chaotic. So pray now. You're like, what? That's crazy, right? So, Sunseam said in 2012, it's going to be chaotic. It looks like it's happening right now, that chaos. The bus rolling down a hill, so much chaos, pandemics and wars and food shortages happening, and plus slander, all these things are happening right now. And this is why there was something even 2012 was saying, pray right now. And that's the window of opportunity. And the preacher was kind of comparing it to right now. Don't miss the window of opportunity right now. Prayer will help us to avoid tribulation. Prayer, right, will also help us to maximize our blessing, which is a huge thing. So this is the instructions that God is giving us because there's a reason. He's saying, pray now. We really, really need to pray now. I think the last part that this preacher brought up was about taking action. And I like this point given here too, because the other way to know the word is by taking action. And this is why action is in this week's title. So everything is connected. Like you have knowing the time, praying, and action. And they're all connected to each other. So we come to understand Sunseam in many different ways. We come to understand him through prayer. We come to understand him when we hear the word. But there's also an understanding we get when we put the words into action. And this is how we come closer to the Lord, because we begin to understand the Shimjung super deeply because we go through the same things that he's been through. And I hope this is something that will help people to kind of get it out of their minds of like trying to get close to the Lord physically, kind of thing, right? Like be right next to him and being envious of those, who are right next to him. But the real people that we should be envious about are those who take action most on the word, because they are the ones that understand the heart of the Lord more than anyone else. But many people are just so focused on the physical drawing close, not so much through actions and through the word. This is a time right now. We all have missions in our life, and there's the mission of pre-dawn prayer. There's the mission of going to services. There's the mission of loving our brothers and sisters and helping our family and sharing the gospel, right? There's a lot of missions that all of us have, generally speaking. But the biggest issue we need to solve is the issue of not knowing the Lord, right? And it has to do with you need more time with the word. And if you look at Pastor Joan, I like this point that the preacher made too, was before Pastor Joan became that big, her whole time was in the word. She was transcribing the word, editing the word, doing so much in the word. So I hope it's something that us too will spend time in the word, but don't do it like, last week's message is don't overdo it, right? Don't be burdensome, right? And I hope that we'll be able to balance it in our lives too. So, we have the word, which is the most deepest and best part. However, it's not complete if we just listen to the word, because we need to pray and we need to take action. And those three things have to come together as the three strands we talked about last week, right? or 2 weeks ago. And I hope that all of us here too can realize from the Wednesday messages from our preachers, because no matter what, whoever's preaching, they're always going to have an angle that you've never seen, or an angle that comes from your preacher. And it's always great to hear other angles from other preachers too. And I like the way how Sunstein put it is, whenever we have leaders around us, like we're like uncut diamonds. And when we have a leader, that leader has a certain angle that they show us. So they cut a new angle. And then when we're finished this, we cut another angle. And then we cut another angle. And all these people we're learning from in life, we're cutting different angles and we're seeing different points of view. And I hope it's something that we can understand also, that this is the way that we also want to do it. So, it's a very, very, unique message, because the way Sunstein puts it is Sunstein gives us a general message. And because we have tens of thousands of people with all living different lives, different jobs, different situations, circumstances, the word is general. But when we put the words of God into action, this is when we get the details of it, right? So I hope that all of us here, we become people that really take action on the word. And there's this really good point that the preacher made yesterday too, is don't be someone who's just always waiting for instruction, like waiting for someone to take care of us, waiting for someone to tell us what to do. And it becomes very, very humanistic. You're just waiting for instructions. But we have to be those that are relying on the Holy Trinity, right? Not on other people. So we have to seek God first before anyone else. And it's like, when you want to be someone that grows and becomes a leader, the employee is someone who can be trusted. And because they're trusted, they will be promoted. And this person is trusted because they studied the company's, all the rule books. They studied how to do things. They studied the vision of the company, the practices of the company. And because they understand it better than everyone else, this is why they're going to be trusted more than everyone else too. And we have to be those that understand it at that level, that, we receive the words, we put into action, and we learn as we go in our individual life. But we're not just waiting for someone to always tell us this instruction and that instruction. I think that's important too. We just can't keep waiting for instructions. The more independent we become, because we are one with the CEO, we know what the CEO really wants, we know what's in his heart, then we will run or do the things we're supposed to do with the CEO's heart in mind. And this is why we're more naturally trusted and more independent, because we know what we're doing. But in the same way with God, if we know the word, if we understand God, if we understand the deep Shimjung, and then on top of that are running, right, knowing that heart, then we're always going to be in line with God, with what God wants. But it's those that don't read the word, don't know what's going on, don't understand, that they're always asking, hey, what do I do? What do I do here? What do I do there? And these are the people that become those that are more like, like you got to always be looking over them. So we have to be those that do things in the proper way more than anything else. And we need to have that prayer that is perfect. And I'll leave you with these, I think like 10 different things of what perfect prayer was. And this is from the message that was given a few months ago, having the perfect prayer. What is a perfect prayer? And these are the couple of things that these are like 9-10 points that were given through that message a while back. It says a perfect prayer is a prayer without blemish. It is a prayer that is done completely. A perfect prayer has the perfect attitude. Right? Attitude meaning your posture, not dozing off, being very clear. The perfect prayer have the heart and thoughts that are bright and focused. No mumbling or being distracted, but it is clear the words that come from your mouth out loud. The perfect prayer is someone who knows the content of their prayer perfectly, and they pray one thing at a time and in order. The perfect prayer is absolutely believing that God is listening. The perfect prayer is revealing our faults and the things we need to fix and the fundamental problems. The perfect prayer is sincere, praying for those running in providence, those who testify, and praying for the lives. A perfect prayer is a prayer according to the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. And of course, a perfect prayer is a prayer that happens after obeying the word, which is a prayer of perfect action. And in the end, if we can do all these things, God will listen to prayers that are perfect, and these prayers will allow us to gain. All right. So there it is, guys. That is that's That is the review of the Wednesday message given from the preacher that I was listening to. You know, it's going to be all different from person to person. So I would love to hear in the comments what you guys heard from your preachers too. That would be really, really good to hear. Hear other points that your preachers kind of emphasized and focused on too. All right. So that means we're going to get into the final song of choice for today. This song of choice. And after that, of course, we have Let's Testify with Thule. And she's going to be doing part 3 of the Vietnam book of chapter 2. So today on this Musical Friday, this is a song, I can't believe I haven't played it yet. This song is from the Wicked musical. It's probably one of my favorite musicals. But this song is called For Good. It's a super inspiring song between the two witches and how things ended. And I'm going to tell you guys this. This is inspiring, and I was really moved when I heard this song too. So from the Wicked musical, this song is called For Good.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I've learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring, like a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a sky bird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? Because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet moves orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets like a sea dropped by a halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed
And there it is. That is from the Wicked musical. Really inspiring song. That song is called For Good. And it's two really, really good friends that are parting. And I really hope that you guys, if you guys get a chance, you guys got to watch that musical. I've seen it twice, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was inspiring. All right, so that was our Friday musical song of the Friday Musical Friday song of the day, which leads us into the last section. And I hope that you guys will really enjoy that. I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to this. This is Thule over there in Australia, and she'll be reading from the Vietnam book, Chapter 2. And this will be the third part of it. And I hope you guys will really enjoy this. Everyone, please welcome Thule from Australia with Let's Testify.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. This is Let's Testify with Thule from Down Under. I hope you are having a great day today. Today, I'm going to continue reading Son Sang Nim's Love and Peace in the Vietnam War, 1966 to 1969 book. And I'm wading through chapter 2, which is actually very long, and it has many photos in it which are really worth having a look at. So if you have the book, or if you know someone who has the book, I'd really recommend looking at the photos. It's so amazing, this chapter, because Son Sang Nim tells us how he was trained to the extreme for going to Vietnam. So I'm going to continue with the latter part of chapter 2. And by the way, if you ever have a testimony you want to share, please send me a recording of your testimony to the email in the description below. I'd love to put it up on this segment. So here we go. Last week we talked about some of the training that Son Sang Nim went through, and how he suffered so much with anxiety and fear in going to Vietnam, because he'd heard so many extreme, torturous rumors about what it was actually like fighting in Vietnam, and how he made himself sick just from the fear of going. But also he felt like it was a way of getting out of going to the war. But he got so sick. Anyway, you can go and listen to last week's segment if you like. So we're continuing now that Son Sang Nim has recovered, and we'll hear what happens here. Chung Gi-min, the commander of the 3rd Company, called me in to see him and asked if I was a churchgoer. When I said yes, he began to unload what was in his heart. No matter how you guys try to get out of it, eventually you all have to go to Vietnam. If you resist the training and have to be forced to go, I worry so much. As your commander, I worry about you men day and night. Since you're all going anyway, why not just accept it? Then we can all be happy. Do you think I'm going because I want to go? I really get how you feel. It's even worse for me because I have a wife and kids. He asked if I could try to persuade the other recruits and said, let's make the best of this. I sat there for more than 30 minutes and explained what I had experienced to the commander, who was also Christian. He listened deeply and even teared up a little. It seemed that he was surprised and inspired. Later, he encouraged me by saying that he, the commander, was a person of faith. I shouldn't worry about the unit. He said, I also feel reassured just knowing there are people like you. Even though it was so far back in the past, I still clearly remember that heartwarming conversation with a fellow Christian. And so, even though the soldiers in my platoon and the whole company had wanted to escape the war just like me, when I turned my heart around, everyone else did too, and we were able to go through the training program with equanimity. Sometime later, the government conducted a psychological survey and found that of the soldiers being sent to Vietnam, over 90% said they would volunteer to go. Now, listeners, just remember that before Son Sang Nim's turnaround in wanting to go to the war after God inspired him, only one person out of 180 people wanted to go. But now, after Son Sang Nim led the way by praying and repenting, 90% said they would volunteer to go. So I'll continue on. It was amazing to see other people going through the same turnaround I had. It was as if everyone had talked it over and their hearts had all changed like mine. I looked up to the heavens and nodded towards God as if I had realized something. When thousands of people are lining up in a sports field, all the lines depend on the standard person they are lining up behind. If the standard person moves, the lines will not be straight. But if he is standing on the right spot, the lines will be straight. Now that I am older and more experienced, I notice if God sends me a sign through the slightest thing, like the touch of a single strand of hair on my face. But back then I was too young and too dull to realize the divine will of God, even if he were to show me something as obvious as a rock falling from the sky. Even though some people ran around asking everyone they knew to help them to avoid going to Vietnam, and even though I decided to entrust my life to God to serve him and struggled not to go, in the end, all of us had to pick up our heavy packs and guns and leave for Vietnam. God works according to what people decide in their hearts. People who are going to die will die anyway, even if they don't go to war. And those who will live will survive even when bombs are exploding all around them. There is a Korean proverb that says, "A person who is going to drown will even die with their nose in a plate of water." It means that even trivial things can cause the most difficulties. Even though war was terrifying and the fear of death was like my blood draining away and my bones being broken, I made up my mind to follow the destiny of my nation and accept heaven's will. When I made up my mind in this way, I felt happy, even excited and hopeful about going. Sending soldiers to Vietnam was the beginning of Korea's path toward becoming an advanced nation, economically, culturally, and also in terms of international diplomacy. Some have argued that South Korea fostered its reputation as a liberal democratic country and made an impression on a world stage at that time. Just as my family's financial situation improved because I went to Vietnam, my country's financial situation also improved because of all the soldiers it sent out. Training for Vietnam. We began all-out training in preparation for our dispatch to Vietnam. We often returned from night training around the Yangpyeong mountain area at 2 a.m. Although the training was exhausting, I would always read a few pages of the Bible before sleeping. We would get a special late-night snack when we did night training, which was 1 small carton of milk and a bread roll or a packet of hardtack. Some people slept right away because they were too exhausted, but most of us ate first. Gosh, when I think back, I can still remember how tasty that snack was, even though it was more than 45 years ago. It would have been so satisfying to eat 2 bread rolls or 2 packets of hardtack, but our country was too poor to feed us more at that time. It was so hard to eat just one that I really wished I could buy more bread for everyone. Perhaps because of that experience back then, I always ask people to buy food for everyone to eat as much as they want when they are following me around, so that no one feels unsatisfied. Even after everyone eats, if anyone is still drooling over the food, I give them more. In any case, even though I ideally wanted to eat more of that bread during training, I got to eat my fill of it in Vietnam. We were forced to train through the heat waves of May, June and July so that we would acclimatize to the tropical heat of Vietnam. It was so hot that it was hard to breathe even standing still. But our combat training required us to walk and run. We were completely drenched in sweat. Those summers were so hot 45 years ago. That round of training lasted over 3 months, and when it was done, we went to Yongmun Mountain Valley for guerrilla-style ranger combat training. This involved rappelling down cliffs, climbing up cliffs, crossing rope bridges over deep valleys, riding a zip line, diving into the river, and more. Now, guys, these are the photos that you really have to see. It's really amazing seeing what kind of training they did. Peering over the cliff before descending made me shake so much I thought I would faint with fear. Many people enjoy rappelling so much they want to do it again, but before trying it the first time, we were all afraid. Riding the zip line across the river made me feel like I was in a circus performance. I got chills down my spine. That training gave us courage and the confidence that we could do anything, and trained me to jump from high places and land like a leopard. So one of these photos here, it shows like two thick ropes intertwined, and they're attached on one side of the valley and attached on the other side of the valley, and there's a deep ravine in between, and there's this man kind of just draped long ways over the rope, and you just imagine how terrifying that would have been. Like, you've got nothing to support you there except for this long thin rope. Okay, so for example, the single rope bridge maneuver required us to lay flat on a rope stretched across the valley and shuffle across it by pulling on the rope. The instructors used to shake the rope when a soldier got about halfway across, making anyone with less upper body strength fall off and hang upside down like a piece of barbecued pork. Since it wasn't possible to climb back onto the rope, they had to cross the remaining distance upside down. Luckily for me, I was good at single rope bridge training. However, rappelling down a cliff, holding onto a rope, was truly a struggle. It was so scary that I just couldn't face it. I tried to hide from the instructors to get out of doing it, but one of them caught me. I told him that just looking at it made me dizzy and I couldn't do it, but he just shouted at me to hurry up and get on with it. "It's more fun to go down the rope than to walk down," he said. I had to do 20 bunny hops as punishment, and then I rappelled down the rope. Actually, it was fun. So that's the end of this Chapter 2 segment for today. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, please, if you've got a testimony that you'd like to share, please send it to me on the email address below. I'd love to put it up here on this segment. Have a great day, guys, and peace.
And there you go. That is another wonderful episode of Let's Testify with Thule over there in Australia. I hope you guys really enjoyed Chapter 2 of the Vietnam book. It's just really, really amazing when you hear these stories again. Some of the stories we know, some of them we don't, but to hear them over and over again is something that we really, really need more than anything else. So very grateful for this episode. All right. So we are here at the end of the Friday episode, last episode of this week, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Everyone, have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you guys again on Monday on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion.